Well, hello. Welcome to day 2 of the Blood Pressure Matters 3-day healing experience. Day 2 is, today's more about what to eat to lower blood pressure. And so I'll just wait a minute or two for people to hop on. Make sure everything's right here. That's good. All right. Hopefully today we won't cut out at all. Let's see here. So, take a sip of water. If you're on this live, please say hello. And where are you tuning in from? How are you feeling? How did you feel about day 1? Was it helpful for you? Did you gain a new perspective, a new understanding? Yes, so I see Bon Jofs is on. Hello, hi, welcome. Where are you tuning in from again? I think you were here yesterday, right? So yeah, hello. I'm tuning in from Los Angeles, and I will go ahead and get started. Just a minute, take a sip of water. Always hydrate, always. So hi, Christine. So good to have you here again. Great to see you here. So yeah, how are you guys feeling today? How's everything going? I feel great. I feel better today. A little less congested. Excited to dive into today's topic. Let's see here. All right. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and get started. Okay. Alberta, Canada. Welcome. So glad to have you here. Okay, so welcome back to day 2. And in this live, I'll show you what to eat when working to lower your blood pressure numbers. This way you can you'll know what foods to choose to eat, foods that heal the endothelium that we talked about yesterday. So if you're tuning in for the first time, even though it's day 2, my name is Serene. I am an integrative nutrition health coach with a background in psychology and social behavior. And in the last few years, I've helped hundreds of women through my programs and in the Facebook group as well, lower their numbers, lose weight, and heal other multiple chronic conditions. So my programs are designed with bio-individuality in mind. Each person is unique. So even though the foundations will most always be the same for everyone, the foundations for health, each person's makeup and environmental history will, cause each person to have a different healing journey, a different path. Maybe some people need a little more support and figuring it out because you have to dive deeper to get to the root of the cause of what, in this case, why your high blood pressure has developed. But most of the time it is going to be due to, the damage to the endothelial cells, which I talked about yesterday. So yeah, all my programs and courses have a one-on-one health coaching element to them, which allows people to get to their goals quicker. And what you'll learn today is a non-restrictive way of eating. When you know what foods to eat, you don't have to count calories. You don't have to weigh your food. You can have seconds if you're still hungry. So it works for you and not against you. And now, in day 1, you learned all about how high blood pressure develops in the first place, right? And this gives you perspective on what has happened in your body over a lifetime. And knowledge is power. It gives you the power to make change. Once you understand what is happening to cause disease, you can't unlearn it. So it's up to you to make better choices when deciding what to eat. You may be asking, well, people know a lot of things are not good for them and they're bad for them, and they keep doing them. So things like smoking, drinking, eating like a bunch of donuts at once and stuff like that. And I want to let you know that the first week may be a bit uncomfortable for some because you are going to be deregulating certain receptors in the brain that have become addiction, because we live in a food addiction society now. So because 73% of our food supply, I'm sorry, just give me 1 second. Let me see who's at the door real quick. I wasn't expecting anyone. Hi. All right, I'm back. So sorry about that. Okay, unexpected guest. So I'll just keep moving on. Because 73% of our food supply is what I was talking about in the US is highly ultra processed. These are foods that are highly ultra processed, and that's what we have to choose from when we go to do our grocery shopping or shopping. Just aisles and aisles of processed foods, processed oils, packaged foods, frozen foods, all of which are, causing us, to, a way of eating that has led our society to having chronic conditions, okay? So we have over the decades become a society addicted to highly processed sugars, salts, and fats, leading to what I like to call food addiction brain, because it is an addiction. So for example, there are multiple studies on mice, I think it's rats, but I'm not sure if it's mice or rats, showing that sugar addiction is stronger than cocaine addiction. So when these rats in these studies are exposed to both cocaine and sugar, the results show that the rats are more likely to choose sugar over cocaine. And I just find that pretty startling, because there's so much added sugar in our foods, just like the post I put yesterday in this group of like how much sugar is in each pasta sauce. Like, it's crazy. You would have never guessed that. Or in yogurt. I mean, I've heard about that for years before I started, looking into the research, but I just was kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. But, that is just one snack. Like, imagine a meal, when yogurt can be your snack and you're adding all this excess sugar in your body. So it will take about a week or a bit more to deregulate these receptors in the brain, and they can be deregulated. So I just want to let you know that, and it's very possible, and it just takes some time, and you need to stick to the core 4 way of eating that I'm going to talk about in a little bit, and so that helps to deregulate while you're also enjoying delicious flavorful foods. So anyway, it's funny how once these receptors are deregulated in the brain, the sugar receptor, the fat receptors, you begin to actually taste the flavor in natural food without adding, sauces and dressings, all which have excess sugar and sodium in there. Bottled dressings is what I'm talking about in particular. And just by, using natural things like natural fats, like avocado, having an avocado with your meal, or squeezing lemon on top of your, your dishes and stuff, that you'll begin to taste the natural flavors, which is quite amazing because you never notice that these foods have these actual delicious flavors. So like I said, keep in mind, there is never change without change, okay? So change needs to happen for us to get results, right? But once you deregulate these receptors, the cravings start going away, and you'll have more control over how much you eat because you're not having that cycle, that addiction cycle, and you also have more control of how often you eat. So, sorry, the cycle is for how often you eat. Like, you'll eat and then like you'll get the craving again, and then you'll eat again, and like foods with sugars and high sugars and stuff like that. So you'll, break that vicious cycle, and that is because the addiction is gone in the brain. So once you get past that stage, you will feel amazing and empowered to continue eating in a healing way. And so just imagine, like, just 2 weeks, like not even a month, if you stick to eating in a natural way, a core 4 way, which I'll talk about in a little bit. If you have the workbook downloaded, you probably already saw the lowering blood pressure plate. So I refer to it as core 4 plate or lowering or blood pressure friendly plate. Those are the foods that there's so many combinations. And I'm always posting meatless Monday meals of delicious foods. And you can also put hashtag meatless Monday in the group, lowering blood pressure the natural way. And then all my meatless Monday foods will pop up there. So give me a thumbs up if you have experienced this and passed that threshold of deregulating these receptors in the brain. Or if you are experiencing that where you no longer have certain cravings anymore, or just give me a comment like, I want to do this. Is it making sense to you? So in this training, I want to cover 2 principles for eating to lower your blood pressure numbers. And that can be adjusted for any numbers you're trying to lower, not just blood pressure. Maybe the numbers on the scale, maybe blood glucose numbers, cholesterol numbers. It's like really interesting how all these chronic conditions are caused because of the way we're eating in such an unnatural way that our bodies were not created to eat the way, most of us are eating. And then when you go back to the roots, to how nature intended us to eat, all these chronic conditions start to heal. It's pretty amazing. So you see, all modern day chronic conditions have the same solution. And that is to eat as Mother Nature intended us to. Not to be eating ultra processed, packaged foods, fast food, chips, donuts. I'm always saying donuts because I had like a donut addiction where if I ate donuts, like I would have to have like 3 or 4 at once. Like I couldn't stop at 1. I couldn't even stop at 2. Like I could just eat like 3, 4 in a row. But I don't do that anymore. But if I do ever, am in a situation where donuts are present, I have the control, which I'll go over in a little bit, that self-awareness where it's okay. I can have one. I haven't had one in like 3 months and, I feel like having it, so I can have one. And so that's not going to affect the receptors that I was just talking about in the brain. If you're doing that every once in a while, when you're like, oh, okay, I'm at this social function. Oh, those donuts actually look good. Do I really want one? Like, you have to ask yourself, do I really want it? Or is it just like the memory of me always craving it? So there's a lot in the mindset that plays a role in the food choices we make. So like I said, I'm not telling you to never eat these foods again, but after you finish and apply what I teach today, you will be able to have that donut every once in a while when it presents itself around you. And you can actually enjoy it and know that you can just stop at 1, like myself. But first, we need to fully focus on healing and on providing our body with nutrients it needs to thrive. So you see, there are 2 aspects to eating to lower your numbers, which back up the 2 principles that I will share. So there is a physiological aspect and there's a mental aspect. So, physiological are these, receptors in the brain, how we are biologically built. And so the physiological aspect supports principle number 1, which is eating the core 4 way. And the mental aspect supports principle 2, which is self-awareness and self-control around food. So let's get started with principle 1, the core 4 way of eating. The idea behind the core 4 way of eating, which I developed a few years ago. I'm not saying like I'm this brilliant genius that developed it, but what happened was, like I said yesterday, I followed so many of these naturopathic doctors, medical doctors who turned and started to focus on healing through nutrition and natural ways of healing. And so I went to seminars, constantly listening to different lectures, reading research, all this stuff. And so what I found was all these doctors had a common theme. And that is how I developed the core 4 way of eating, because it was basically just the same thing, but just said in a different way. And I packaged it in my blood pressure friendly plate. And so I developed it a few years ago, and it's helped me help hundreds of women and men too, gain their health and vitality back. So the idea behind it is that there is no one food, vitamin, or mineral that's going to heal and lower your blood pressure. Although these can definitely provide a purpose when faced with nutrient deficiencies, which you can discuss with your doctor, that may be a possibility that is affecting your blood pressure, and get them to do the lab work if they're cooperative with you. And so, there may be some type of deficiency there. But the idea, and as I was saying, there is not like one food, vitamin, or mineral that's going to heal and lower your blood pressure and heal whatever's going on in the body. It may help, in some cases, because of a deficiency, it may like just solve everything. But rather, when you're eating in a core four way, it is that synergistic effect that that the variety of a colorful plate, when you do want to eat the rainbow. I don't know if you've heard that term before, but there is meaning behind it, because the more colors through, the natural foods that you put in your plate, the more variety of fiber, the more variety of phytonutrients you're getting, antioxidants. So in any case, all of these fiber, vitamins, carbs, and proteins in these natural foods in the core four plate, they all work together like a symphony to make that beautiful masterpiece. And that beautiful masterpiece is you after eating this way, because it is what nature intended us to be eating, okay? And we're getting everything we need. Although going into modern day agriculture, we have been depleted of a lot of minerals and vitamins that used to be in the food that are not as available in the foods, but that's a whole other topic. But just shifting from the standard American diet to eating in a core four way will have profound effects on your body. So moving on, remember from yesterday that in order for endothelial cells to heal and produce nitric oxide, you need to minimize saturated fats and sugar. So in order to give those endothelial cells a chance to heal after decades of trauma, that's what we're talking about today. Okay, so our main goal is to heal those endothelial cells when we're trying to lower blood pressure. All right, so which brings us to the fun part: how to eat to lower blood pressure. So the reason I think this is the fun part is because when you have the time, I know everyone's busy, but let's say on weekends or, some evenings you're in the mood, to make something